I am one with the sun. It's Nick Shell. We're going to talk about hair loss. That's mainly what we talk. What's going on? Here, let's grab that and go. I don't know what's going on. Crazy. All right. So I made a video called "What Gives Balding Men Confidence," and Dan had left a comment on there. I want to read an excerpt from it because he brings a lot of very good point that I need to make a video about this. He says this, quote, "As I started to recede and bald in my early 20s, it got really bad. My hair was the most attractive part of me as a teen. I just need to embrace it. Otherwise, nothing will change. Cheers, brother." End quote. I am so glad, Dan, that you left this message because I think it brings to light something. I hadn't really thought of it, and I think this is going to be debatable. I think there's definitely going to be people who disagree with my statement, and I understand that because I think what I'm going to say is a debatable theory, which is part of my whole formula in making these videos, is to make debatable theories. We can talk about these things and discuss them. But my theory that I want to present to you today is that men's hair stops mattering after high school. I want to say it again out loud. Men's hair stops mattering after high school. You know, looking back on all the pictures now, I ultimately realized my hair began the process and hasn't stopped since 18. Granted, I haven't lost as much as I thought I would, but still, as an adult, I'm almost 36 now, so basically half my life I've been losing my hair, right? So it's interesting because men are expected for their hair to fall out. I mean, especially if you're Caucasian of European descent, it's assumed that you're going to lose your hair, and if you don't, then lucky you. But it's an assumption about us, and it kind of goes back to the double standard that if men in the real world outside of a YouTube video talk about hair loss, or they're worrying about it or insecure, if they express that, then ultimately the response is there's no pity given to that man. There's no empathy given to that man because, hey, just deal with it. We all lose our hair. And women just kind of shake it off, especially like, well, it's no big deal. Just shave it off. There's not really much compassion for a man who's losing his hair. Now, what I do believe also too is people don't actually care to begin with, and that's a good thing. Ultimately, people don't care because it's normal that we lose our hair. I think it goes back to and therefore, if a woman's losing her hair, that's a tragic thing because so much of her beauty is seen in her hair. Men, that's not how we're perceived by society. So because of that, there is this double standard that actually works to our favor if we're willing to perceive it that way. That ultimately, I submit to you the concept that our hair as men stops mattering after high school. When I think back to being in junior high, and I try to think of if I would overhear what girls were saying about an attractive guy, I may hear something like, "Oh, he's got cool hair," or something like that. But past high school, you don't really hear those comments anymore. It's not about a guy's hair. Because, like me, granted, I'm only suffering a fraction of this, but at age 18, my hair started changing, and so I think it's just expected that that's something that after high school, we're not being judged on our hair anymore at all, and as far as that being a reason to find a man attractive. Now, last night, I did make that 15-minute video, and I know it's long, but I think it's ultimately going to become a new thesis on my YouTube channel as far as explaining what actually matters and what we're actually judged on and what we're actually seen as attractive. I want to submit to you that after high school, your hair just doesn't matter. Those things on that list, the top 10 masculine traits, that video that I did, that's actually what matters. So that's the good thing. We don't find value in our hair after high school. We're judged on these other things. So I think the tendency is to get it backwards, is to hold on, and like Dan's explaining, I'm so glad you did there, Dan, that we're holding on to this idea as if our hair matters, and after that point it just doesn't. It's a juvenile. Think about this. It's called juvenile hairline for a reason, because when we're no longer juvenile, our hairline changes, we become something else. And I want to close with this concept, and I talk about this all the time as far as how we can choose to be victorious or we can allow ourselves to be a victim. One of the concepts of that is someone who is victorious is going to embrace change. Someone who's not victorious is going to fear change. And that's the thing about our hair loss as men. It's a change that's going to affect most of us to some degree. And so to fear that change, we're never going to win at that game. It's something that we have to fully embrace. But I think maybe for hopefully some people watching this video, that we can think of it this way. Hair doesn't matter after high school. As men, it doesn't matter after high school. We're no longer juvenile. We're adults. Our hair will be changing. We will not fear that change. We will embrace the 10 traits of masculinity that I made in that long 15-minute video last night. And I'm so grateful to be able to make these videos, because I get to remind myself of these things, and I kind of get to learn new perspectives on things too. So our hair, it's just not the investment that we allow our mind to turn it into. It's not a good investment at all. It's a liability if we spend time thinking about it. But we have to think about overcoming it. And so instead of thinking about, oh no, I'm losing my hair, and fearing that change, we embrace that change by realizing, okay, if my hair is going to change, so is my mind. My mind is going to change with my hair. So thank you so much for that comment, because I really enjoyed being able to make this video and sort this out. This isn't just for you, it's for me too. Keep that in mind. And this has been even if this video is just nah to you, this video, this is a big deal for me. So thank you for teaching me this today.